One of the most forgotten, underrated, overlooked presidents in modern era who had an incredible impact on American history is Dwight Eisenhower. Now, Dwight Eisenhower, of course, was the commander of the Allied forces in World War II. He then went on to become the president, and it's interesting that because he had been a commander in the military, he had seen a lot that happened in the military. And of course, in World War II, one of the bloodiest events in world history, with millions and tens of millions of people that died in World War II. And at the end of it, when he came back and finally he is recruited to become a president, and as he's looking at America, he recognizes there's a lot of darkness in the world. There's darkness in America just because of how much death and bloodshed. And still, the threat of nuclear war is still out there, these atomic bombs, and there's so much going on. And he has an idea that he wants to help Americans remember who God is. In fact, one of the first things he does when he's being sworn in is he actually leads in his own inaugural prayer, which we actually have the original copy, his handwritten notes that he prayed leading into that inauguration.
Yeah, he was very concerned about America not becoming too secular because he'd seen what that looked like throughout Europe. And so not only did he pray his own inauguration prayer, but once he got in office, he did a number of things. He instituted the National Prayer Breakfast, which still goes today, involves usually about 140 nations a year gather in Washington, D.C., first Thursday of February for prayer breakfast. And there were several pieces of legislation he did.
The prayer breakfast, there are thousands of people that show up to that prayer breakfast.
Usually 6,000 to 8,000 from all across the world show up there.
It's a huge prayer breakfast, but that's just, we're acknowledging he did that. I don't even think that's one of the bigger things he did of these 5 or 6 things, but that's one thing he did where he wanted to give people an opportunity, congressmen, to come and meet with other world leaders and have a time to pray and seek God, knowing that if more people knew God and believed in God and followed what the Bible said, we would have less issues around the world.
Well, it was during his presidency that they added the Congressional Prayer Chapel in Congress, a place to come pray and seek God. And it's so great. It's got a stained glass picture of George Washington kneeling in prayer at Valley Forge. And so he really was focused on, hey, it's important to have God as the center of who we are as a nation.
He also is the one that put under God in the Pledge of Allegiance. This is the letter he actually wrote to the American people. And he's telling them why it matters that we're having under God put in the pledge. And part of what he says is, to anyone who truly loves America, nothing could be more inspiring than to contemplate this rededication of our youth on each school morning to our country's true meaning. And part of what he had said right before it is that every single village, a rural city, town, whatever it is, the dedication of our nation and our people to the Almighty every morning is what they're going to do. And so for Dwight saying that we're going to be so encouraged that our kids are going to once again be committing themselves, the nation, to God, absolutely incredible. He doesn't stop there. By putting under God in the pledge, he does something else with a national motto.
He actually codifies something that we had in American tradition for 2 centuries before. If you go back to the American Revolution, you'll find one of the early flags used by Massachusetts said, an appeal to God. They also had one, an appeal to heaven. One was for the Army, one was from the Navy. And then as we move through the American Revolution with that focus on appealing to God, we get into the War of 1812, which is our next big war. And as part of that, that's where we get a guy named Francis Scott Key, who did what we would call the Star-Spangled Banner. And this is the first ever printing of it. Now, right here, it's 4 verses in the Star-Spangled Banner. This is our national anthem. And the last 4th verse, he talks about, and you can read right there what he says in that 4th verse. You want to read it?
This is our motto, or this be our motto, and God is our trust. Now, this is Francis Scott Key saying this is our motto in America, and God is our trust. When you get to the Civil War, you have Salmon Chase under Abraham Lincoln, who works to get "In God We Trust" put on these little, I call them pennies, but they're 2-cent pieces.
They were 2-cent pennies, yeah.
Just different than our penny today. But it was a penny done in the Civil War. And then Dwight Eisenhower is the one who says we should just take that and make it our national motto. And "In God We Trust" became our national motto under Dwight Eisenhower, which actually, if you look in the House of Representatives, above the Speaker's rostrum is the national motto, "In God We Trust." This is part of the contribution Dwight Eisenhower gave to America, but it's also part of the history that we used to recognize the importance of faith and our national motto, "In God We Trust."